everyone, I've got a cool art journal page here that I made mostly with just the mixed media kit, actually only with the mixed media kit and the one of the things from the main kit. So I'm just using the eyedropper here to drip some colour onto the page just randomly all over, letting it sit for a bit so the colour can brighten on the page. This is my Jane Davenport art journal, so I haven't gessoed the page or anything like that. It doesn't need to, as it has really great paper in it. I really recommend it. I was about to give up art journaling before I found this art journal. And one of the tips, see, I'm using my finger here to splat it. So one of my other projects that I did after this, if you use the eyedropper and drop it and use your hand and drop your hand towards the page, but as you're dropping it, squirt it out, that motion will give that splattered look on your page. Really cool, bit messy of course, but that's the cool fun part of it. So I've just, unfortunately I learnt that afterwards, but that's okay. I made it work and just made my fingers lovely and made sure that everyone knew that I've been art journaling. And I'm just mixing some of the blue and the yellow here to make some green. A happy little mistake, but that's okay because it's nice. All those colours, 4 colours, go together really well. So I'm just using the paper towel here to pick up most of the colour, let it dry. I didn't heat dry it or anything afterwards. I just used the paper towel to pick up the excess colour and then moved on to the next part of my process. So you can see how beautiful the colours look. It's really lovely. And we're going to then work out what I'm going to do next, because then I was trying to work out what the next layer of it would be. So whether I'd use this Katie mixed media stencil that we got in the mixed media kit. And I thought, no, it's not what I really want. It's a bit too big. And then I remembered that we got this Punchinella in the main kit. So I'm going to use it as a stencil. To begin with, I probably will put it on my layout sometime in the month as a layering piece, but to begin with I'm using it as a stencil and it just gives some lovely little small hexagons, and I'm just putting them in a few little blobs of places, not going straight down and the stencil in a straight area. I'm just putting little parts. So you can see sometimes I'm putting it over top of an ink splatter and sometimes I'm putting it next to an ink splatter, sometimes both, like that bottom corner there. I put it on the ink splatter as well as the white part of the page. So that adds some lovely interest, and I'm just going to use a baby wipe to wipe that off and add some ink splatters now. So I'm just used the eyedropper, added some colour to the art mat, just using my brush to splatter that on. Not too tricky, this layout, this art journal page. It's really nice, and I think it would make a really cool, scrapbooking layout background if you were thinking not obviously you could make the whole 12 by 12 or 9 by 12, whatever size you're doing, as this kind of a background, but I would think, my thought would be that you'd make like an interest area, so just like a line down the side, and then you added your photo that was layered on top of it and then built out your cluster that way. That would be what I would do. So now I did use that Katie mixed media stencil. I thought it needed a bit of black, some boldness, so I'm just using one of these sponges that go on those Tim Holtz dabber tools, and I'm just using it with my finger because I only wanted it in a certain part of the stencil. I didn't want it straight and too even, which is what would happen if I used the tool. So now, as you can see, I dropped some more colour onto my mat, and I'm just using the bottom of my glue bottle as something round to add some circles to my layout. So they're not full, like perfect circles, some are a bit wider in sections. It's sort of like a coffee cup splatter. And you could use your stencil. I'm pretty sure we got one last year in one of the kits. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if you didn't, then there is some that you can buy. Otherwise, just do as I do and use whatever's sitting on your desk that is round. You can get different, obviously different sizes and different imprints, because some things, like this glue bottle, was raised in the middle, not flat on the whole circle. Sometimes I like to make a full flat circle, and it just depends on what you're using to make a circle. So adding a bit of water just to loosen up the eyedropper colour, the colour in the ink. So these Colour Blast inks are just perfect. They come in those eyedroppers and the bottles with the eyedroppers, and they just make for easy use. And they just go on so lovely. You can see the colour is so vibrant, so bright. They're just beautiful, and they go so well with these month's kits because the colours in the Vicky Buden Field Notes collection and the other goodies that we got are just perfectly matched with these colours. So you can't go wrong with adding a drop of these colours on your page and then adding any of your goodies from the kit. So just adding some green now. Just going to wipe that up, and then I'm going to clean up my mat and move to the next section. So I'm really loving, and I really wanted, like, it was a battle. I really wanted to just leave the page as it is and then leave, just have that as my art journal page, but I really wanted it to have a bit of a quote as well. So while I was thinking about that, I added a border to just make sure that it wasn't falling off the page, that it actually had purpose and was contained on the page. So just using my finger and some paint. It's just black paint. It's I can't remember what, Diane Reevely maybe paint. And it's just plain black. Only reason I brought that was because I was making an order, and I'd run out of my cheap black paint that I'd got from Kmart. So normally my acrylic paints are either Dilutions. I do have some Flutterby paint, and I do have some Vicky Buden paint, but normally my acrylic paints are just from Kmart. So now I decided I was going to go with a quote. I did try a few pieces in the kit as some embellishment pieces or some titles, and then I decided that I'll just write it on there, but it would need a bit of a base so that it stuck out. However, I do add too much of a black paint base and then have to correct that issue. So if you ever do a mixed media, don't freak out. Just go with the flow and fix as you're going, because obviously unless you plan out every part, you're not going to have it the way you want 100% of the time. You're just going to get those little things that you're like, oh, I don't really like it, that bit. So drying the paint, because obviously my pen is not going to work if my paint is not dry. So just writing the coat, be a pop of colour in a black and white world. I just think that goes so well with it. And if I had a black Posca pen, I could have just written it on there without the border, but that's okay. I try to add some red. I just thought maybe it might just pop a little bit. You can, but not really. So then I realised that I'm going to have to use the white Posca pen, and actually this is a Sharpie pen, I think. Actually, I don't know what brand it is, but it doesn't work very well, I'll tell you that. So I'm just going to try and make out the colour come out, and I'm just going to splatter it, dab it up so that it's not so bright and just layered on top, but make it look like they're layered into the black. And I'm going to call it a day. So I'll catch you next project, and I'll see you online. Bye.